Every time I step away, another member of the Aces leaves the team. I think it's fair to call it an Aces exodus at this point, at least a bench exodus, because Kelsey Plum did leave, but was replaced by Jewel Lloyd. So, in a sense, that was a swap. But the rest of the bench has made its way out the door, leaving Las Vegas, where we saw it with Sydney Colson, of course, going to the Indiana Fever. And that was a bit of a shock to people, but it indeed happened. And she gets a bump in pay to go to the Fever. Then after that, Tiffany Hayes winds up going to the Golden State Valkyries. Same situation. She gets more money. And now Alysha Clark has signed with the Seattle Storm. And that's basically their entire bench. Now, to be fair, they did sign Cheyenne Parker Tyus. So maybe that was part of this addressing that situation. And they do continue to retain the core. They do have Asia Wilson, Jackie Young, Jewel Lloyd, Chelsea Gray. But beyond that, there ain't much. There ain't much from a depth situation for the Aces. And it makes you wonder what's going on. Like, do they have another acquisition in mind? Is that something that they have the resources to facilitate? Because I think they need more personnel. And did the players leave for the pay raises? Did they leave because, at the end of a run, sometimes you just want something new? I mentioned that in the other video about the Aces. Like, dynasties, that happens. People wind up leaving. It just runs its course, perhaps. And then there's going to be people talking about, the environment there and what happened with De'Erica Hamby. And, of course, when you're Asia Wilson too, right? Like when you're Asia Wilson, I'm not saying she is responsible for this, obviously, but when you're that kind of player, a lot of players of that ilk will get people wondering and talking about what's going on when you have so many players going out the door. Same goes for Becky Hammon, the coach, too, right? Like the coach and the top star are the people that get finger pointed to. That's just the way sports fans and sports talk work. And, Kelsey Plum, I think, was looking for a fresh start and a bigger role. And Jewel Lloyd was definitely looking for a new place to play. So that made sense in a sense, that swap. But after that, like the entire bench depth is gone. And you're talking about people who won, right? Like, people that helped them win a championship. And you need a bench in order to win. And the Aces, if you even just go back to last year, and maybe this is their thinking, but they don't have a GM, so it's hard to know. It's hard to know what's going on over there. I mean, I think that's what's got people scratching their heads. Because right now, I'd have them as one of the losers of free agency if they don't make another move to address the holes in their roster. This was a team that was seeded 4th a season ago. The Indiana Fever got better than they did. Now, the Sun probably fell below them. But are they better than what the Phoenix Mercury are going to look like, or the Atlanta Dream are going to look like, or the Seattle Storm are going to look like, who were all behind them last year? Because the idea of a dynasty is done there, I believe. And barring another move of consequence to address the lack of depth, the lack of bench, and really the lack of versatility on that roster right now. Because if you go look at the roster, with Clark gone, I mean, there ain't much beyond that group of players. Kitley, they signed, so maybe they have high hopes there. Kate Martin is another. Like, how did they not protect Kate Martin in the expansion draft with all this going on? That looks like a really bad move in retrospect, because that's a self-own. We'll see, but fair to say, everything ain't coming up Aces right now.